The coronavirus pandemic has changed New York City. And I want to see how. I haven't visited Midtown Manhattan since driving around in late March, early April. And I want to see how things have changed since then. There's no tourists, or at least very, very few tourists. Maybe a few of them did sneak in. And also, most places are still closed. So let's check out New York City post-pandemic, or right after, as things are opening up, from 34th Street all the way to Times Square, and then we're going to go to the East River. I'm Ariel with Urbanist. Let me know if you have any questions, and let's walk around. Here is the Empire State Building. We are in 34th Street. Things are very loud and kind of hectic here, more than I expected. Lots of people screaming on boom mics, and they are not protesters, they are vendors. Here's Macy's. Hello Kay, hello Thomas, hello everyone. What's the weather today? It's very nice. It's a moderate 83 degrees Fahrenheit, around there. And let's walk around. It was loud on 14th Street. I can imagine 14th Street. I am surprised, to be frank, about 34th Street. I thought Midtown would be empty. But let's investigate. Let's go a little bit further down. This is a wandering, so feel free to ask me anything. No history for this one. We're just wandering around. Patty, you wish you were here. Well, at least I can show it to you. You know, to be frank, I used to love walking around this area, but I don't feel as enthused. And I think it might be because it's a lot more crowded than I expected. Let me know what you think. However, we will be walking to places where I'm a little bit more excited to show you, especially the east side of Manhattan. Here's a performing artist. Debbie, you're sneaking a look. I am maintaining social distance, but I gotta admit it's a bit hard. A lot of people are not maintaining that. Okay, everyone, let me know where you're watching from. Have you explored your nearby city? I'm very curious. Have you gone out and about either the main street of your town or village, or have you explored your city or a city nearby you? I know many of you are watching from places close to cities like the UK, Ireland, Argentina, and I know many others. So let me know, have you explored your nearby city? Y tú estás mirando en español, dígame, ¿y tú has explorado la ciudad cerca de ti? We're in Midtown Manhattan, and I'm curious how empty or full it is. Let's check it out. Let's go. Let's walk around. Thank you so much. The mask I got is from Smart Glamour. Check it out. They're an amazing small independent designer. I covered her in my documentary about New York City fashion. However, I also offer Urbanist masks. And if you want to purchase an Urbanist mask, every purchase helps show you more of New York City. You can do so by going to teespring.com/urbanist. Irene, you only walked one block. I can imagine. I know some of you might be in a position where you can't really walk around. And Long Island is a war zone after the storm. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Doreen. You know, I'm currently in Long Island. Luckily, my house only had a few tree branches fall down. And my neighborhood, a lot of people have been cutting down trees in the months prior, so it's not that bad in my neighborhood. However, I'm so sorry to hear that things are getting worse or are bad in your neighborhood due to the tropical storm that hit yesterday. What's that classical building? Ooh, great question. You know what? I don't know off the top of my head, but it is an iconic classical building. Beaux Arts style. It's currently the Gotham Hall, but it belonged to something else. I gotta get away from the music just in case, because the music blasting is copyright. So I'm just gonna continue talking over the music. Feel free to ask me literally anything you would like. This is a wandering, no history, just a stroll or probably a gallop through here. You know, I'll be honest with all of you, because I know you like watching my show, because I tend to give it to it straight. And I was at first excited to walk around Midtown again. You know, it's always been a place I really enjoy walking through. I used to enjoy walking through. I'm a person who loves cities, hence the name of my show, Urbanist. And it was fun before a pandemic, being amidst a crowd of hundreds of thousands of people. However, since this pandemic, it has made me rethink of the neighborhoods I prefer, because it's a bit trickier with disease where crowds isn't quite the best thing, or dark corridors in these skyscraper blocks that have little light coming in. It kind of changes the context for me, and I have to tell you, now I'm getting a little bit more of a liking for places that have a little bit more light and air. So after we go to Times Square, we're going to walk more that direction, see the contrast between this typical New York that most people see through video or visiting as a tourist, and go a little bit more to the residential side. Gloria, thank you so much for inviting your friend. Cheryl says, yeah. Welcome everyone. Debbie Ross says Aberdeen, Scotland is back in lockdown. Ooh, it's back in lockdown? Well, that's very sad to hear. You know, New York has been lucky in cases going way down. However, most of the U.S. is not so lucky. Cases have been skyrocketing in most areas of the U.S. You passed the Mason Crazer. Mason Crazer, I think, is closed now. Which is a sad thing, and they might close permanently. They closed during the pandemic, but they might be closed permanently. If you would like me to highlight anything as I'm walking through, please let me know. Happy to point the camera any direction for these wanderings. Yeah, not one death in New York City in 3 days. It's been quite a while. Awesome, says Albert. Welcome, Albert. Nice to see you here. Thomas, you from UK, flying out to Northern California to study on 23rd of August. So excited. Hope I can keep watching awesome videos whilst in the US. Hey, Thomas, I'm so glad you're coming here. Coming at least to California. That must be really awesome. Awesome change of weather, I assume, as well. Debbie, can I see your post? I didn't see your previous question, so feel free to ask me again. Sometimes not all the comments appear. I'm not sure why Facebook does that. It might be because of a lot of... sometimes it's because if someone uses a lot of emojis, that might happen. If you're not using emojis, sometimes Facebook does that. I have no clue why. Irene, I'm not sure if those are stars, but if they are stars, thank you so much. Glad to see so many people wearing masks. Yes, people are wearing masks. More so than outside of the city. So once you start getting into Long Island, upstate New York, people are not wearing masks. So here I see a lot more masks. Do you ever get anything to eat off the food stands on the pavement? Very rarely in this area. I only like a few food carts. And as someone who's been living here my entire life, I would only recommend a few food carts. The hot dogs on the street stands, in my opinion, are not nowhere near as good as the hot dogs you can get at Papaya King or Gray's Papaya. There's also Criff Dogs in the East Village. When it comes to halal food, I really only recommend two halal places. 53rd and 6th, which is in Midtown East. Really great halal food. It's called the Halal Guys. They now have fast food places all around the world. However, nothing beats the original. I've done a video of them before. And then the second one is Kashba, right by Lincoln Center. They're really good. They make some of the best rice on the cart. And they have chicken and lamb. Highly recommend them. Yeah, those are my two recommendations. There's only a few other cars. There's Luke's Lobster sometimes has a car. Let me know if anyone has any recommendations of street cars. So let me move around the camera a little bit. Hey Doug, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you helping giving us perspective. Hey Brent, I'm so glad you're watching from the Bahamas. I really want to go Caribbean. Hopefully travel will open up again soon. I'm very tempted to do a month in Puerto Rico if it's possible later this year. Thank you so much for tuning in. Patty says so empty. It really is. Okay, so here I am actually pleasantly surprised. So I was fearing the worst in this stretch between the Garment District and Times Square. And the reason for that is because there usually is a lot of homeless people and junkies all along this avenue. Maybe it'll change at night. However, the city appears to be taking measures to remedy that situation. I know it's a very complicated issue. I'm just speaking from the point of view of someone who likes to stroll around. It doesn't seem to be that bad as I would have expected. Let's check out Times Square. It's okay, just wondering. I'm at work. Sneaking a look, says Debbie. Oh, Debbie, yeah. You're NZ. You know, I do have subtitles. I have closed captioning. It should be working. It should be pretty close. It might get some weird words sometimes, but it's getting pretty close. All right, everyone, get ready. But not, yes, I am live for a second live video. Normally people in the streets would be packed with people, and that's the nice thing during the pandemic. Yeah, you know, again, acknowledging the tragedy that many people are experiencing here in the US. We have lost 150,000 lives. It's very sad. Around the world, it's more than, I think, 600,000. So it is indeed sad, and I feel my condolences to anyone who's experienced a tragedy. Even my own family, we have a family friend who has passed away due to COVID. So aside from that, it is nice to walk around without tourists. It is a very unique opportunity. As a New Yorker, you won't get this chance. However, if you are coming from another state, I would recommend, stay in your state. Don't worry. New York is not that special while empty. But if you are in New York, do walk around if you can. It's really interesting. Wear a mask and walk around. Station says, do you think theaters will open on Broadway before Christmas? No. Great question, but no, it's not going to happen. One of the biggest Broadway producers, his name is Cameron McIntosh, if I recall correctly. Yeah, his name is Cameron McIntosh. one of the biggest Broadway producers here in London and in New York City. And he said there will be no Broadway in West End till early 2021. And he's recently said that that might be even longer. He said that we might be looking towards late 2021 for the return of musical theater. So it doesn't appear like it will be coming back anytime soon. Irene, you missed out the first live. Oh, the first live was really cool. I visited the High Line, which was really awesome. Lori, thank you so much for the stars. Our August 3rd, 29th Street anniversary trip to New York City got rescheduled. I'm so sorry to hear that, Lori. I hope you could come back next year. Saludos, Natalia de Argentina. Gracias por mirando. Estamos ahora in Times Square. I heard today they're setting up checkpoints coming into New York City, so stem the flow of visitors from other states. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Nearby states are getting very bad, and that's because of travelers from New York going to other states, and I think vice versa. Is this the Paramount Theater? Yes, right here. That's the Paramount Theater. It's currently a Hard Rock Theater. Oh yeah, you know what? Like George has posted many photos of this theater on the Urbanists of the World group page. Sandy, what about COVID? Yeah, it's still going on. It's still going on. New York City's recovering. The Christmas show at Radio City has been canceled, yeah. We won't be seeing tourists in New York City for quite a while. Hello, Johan. Thank you so much for the stars. Uh-oh. You know, there might not be tourists, but there is definitely still monkey and cartoon characters wanting to grab a little bit of cash. I don't blame them. It's tough economic circumstances. Here's a lone saxophone player around here.
Break it down,
Great burgers at Hard Rock. You know, I wouldn't doubt it. A lot of these chain restaurants, American chain restaurants, usually do have good burgers. Hey, Nicholas, desde la Patagonia. Está mirando de la Patagonia. Debe ser bien bonito esta temporada. Gracias por mirando. Amamos Times Square y New York City. 3 veces, esperamos ir muchas más veces. Saluda a Paulina. Oh, bienvenidos, Paulina. Gracias por mirando. Bienvenidos, Paulina, and everyone who's new to watching. Let me know where you're watching from New York City. We're in Times Square. Haven't been here in quite a while, and there's quite a bit of people. It's not nowhere near as crowded as it used to be. There used to be thousands of more people. Now you can actually walk in the street, which is kind of a shock. Let me show you more. Okay, I would say be safe. planes might not be the best route of transportation at this moment, no matter how tempting it is. But just like me being stuck in New York City and exploring more, I've explored places in Brooklyn and Queens and Long Island. I would encourage you to do the same. There might be really interesting places in Kilkenny or Dublin or Cork nearby you. I'm not entirely sure the geography of Ireland, but there might be cool cities nearby you that might be worth exploring. So if you're from any of those places, if you're from London, if you're from Cornwall, if you're from La Patagonia, Argentina, there's a lot of places you can visit nearby you. Hola, te estoy mirando de Guayaquil, Ecuador. Gracias por mirando de Guayaquil. Qué nombre. Gracias por mirando, Claudia. Yep, the red steps are here and open once again. Wow. You know what? This might be filled with advertisements bombarding me with products I really don't care about, but I cannot deny how gorgeous this square is. It's so unique in the world. There's only few squares like it. There's Oxford Circus and Piccadilly Circus, and there is, I might be mispronouncing it. This is Shibuya Square in Japan, in Tokyo. There's not that many other places that can compete with Times Square. And there's steps here, so you can jump onto traffic. Steps to traffic, I guess. And there is a bloody step that is no, there is a bloody step right there. Definitely not stepping on those steps. All right, let's take a look at the... Yeah, it was really empty. I did a video of Times Square right at the height of the pandemic, and there was maybe 2,000 people, 20 or so people. It was really empty. Shibuya. Thank you so much for clarifying. Shibuya. Cheryl, you say last time you were here, it was so frustrating. So many people stressing you out. Yes, I know what you mean. That's why I've done many videos, and I recommend people coming here early in the day. Once things get back to normal, I would recommend coming back here. If you visit at like at 9 a.m., you'll have Times Square to yourself. Right now, you'll have Times Square to yourself basically at all times. These are the famous red steps. Let's see what's playing in Broadway. Oh no, TKTS booth are closed until performances reopen. Traffic is back to normal levels, and let's go east. So now we're going to turn around 46th Street and go eastward, wiggle our way through Bryant Park. Sandra is sad looking. Yeah. You know, Times Square is it's known for its huge amount of people. So yeah, it is different. Thomas, are there any modern churches around? When it comes to modern churches, that's a good question. Not that many. I don't know off the top of my head. There's the Church of Scientology. Yes, there's the Modern Christian Church, which is a non-denominational church. It's at 51st Street, down that way. 51st Street, there's a non-denominational Christian church. Lots of young people go there. I don't know too much about it beyond that. Let's walk through here. It's a closed-off street. Now, I think it's a closed-off street for one particular reason. And that reason might be because it has a police station. So one thing you should know is some streets are closed. There might be 3 reasons why streets are closed in New York City at this moment in time. One is there is an open street, which is very normal in New York City summers. They have greatly expanded this year, though. There's a lot more open streets, which means they close off the street so people can just walk in. 2, there is a dining street. They close off the street so more restaurants could open up onto the sidewalk. And 3rd and final reason is it's because there's a police station. And that's due to the political circumstances right now. So this is an open street. This is Havana Central, Cuban restaurant. Here's how outdoor dining looks like now. Hey Loretta, I'm so glad you think I'm the best guide. Sandra, you say St. Patrick's Cathedral. Yes, St. Patrick's Cathedral is definitely a church nearby. It's not so modern. It was opened a little bit more than 100 years ago. Janice, you love Bryant Park. Me too. I really love Bryant Park. I love walking the street with no cars. It feels really freeing. This is a really nice feeling to just literally walk in the middle of the street. What's the handsome building? This is Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis High School for International Careers, part of the New York City Board of Education. However, I'm glad you asked, George, because there is a plaque right in front. It says the former School of Performing Arts, built in 1893 to 1994 as Public School 67. This Romanesque revival style building was designed by CBJ Snyder, Superintendent of School Buildings for New York Board of Education, from 1948 to 1984. It was the School of Performing Arts founded by Principal Dr. Franklin J. Keller, his faculty and advisory commission of leading professionals in dance, music, and this innovative school offer professional training combined with academic education. Made into a landmark, 1988. Janice, thank you so much for the stars. I appreciate it. Everyone, I thank all of you for stars. Janice, I know Cheryl has given a few stars, many stars actually. Cindy is another comment star giver. Thank you so much for the stars. All the stars help transportation costs. Luckily, I'm not taking public transportation, but I'm still, using gasoline costs, data costs, and gear costs, and all that helps me do more videos, even amidst the pandemic. So I really appreciate the stars and all the support. Feel free, let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. Y tú estás mirando en español, puedes preguntarme cualquier cosa. Do I feel safe walking around with not so many people at the moment? Right here, yes. Safe in terms of I don't feel like I'm gonna get robbed or mugged or anything. And that's been the case before pandemic. But I do have to admit, I feel a little bit wary of people coming without masks, trying to ask me for money, or people kind of bothering me with the CDs, like we just saw in Times Square. That's the thing I am a little bit more wary of, because that already happened to me twice while walking around the city, and it's a bit weird. Don't come to someone without a mask. So yeah, I feel safe. George, you're a post giver. Yes, George, indeed. Thank you so much for your post. Cheryl, more stars from Cheryl. Thank you. Can we ask what part of the city you live in? Bernal, I live right outside Queens in Nassau County, Long Island. So right outside Queens. Do you know if the St. General Festival will take place? That's a great question. It's in September, so we're pretty close. One good thing about St. General Festival, it is outdoors. But the bad thing is, it is crowds. It gets crowded because it takes place in Mulberry Street in Little Italy, now modern day Nolita. So maybe, I would say probably will not happen, or if it does happen, they may choose a different street. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen. I would say chances are not so high. They're low, I would say. Hey, Deep Right, former East Villager watching. Hey, thank you so much for watching, Deep Right, on Periscope. Empty Midtown Manhattan. Now this is a different site. This is a Wednesday. This would be packed to the brim with people during a Wednesday. And the building is no longer here. What happened here? A building apparently was torn down. Ludin, how the heck are tourists in New York City? Alright, if you're watching for the first time, I live right outside New York, so I'm in New York. So I'm not a tourist. However, if you do see tourists walking around, they might be people from just outside of New York City. So they might be from Long Island, or they might be from New Jersey. Some people are coming in from other states. So some people are coming in from Rhode Island, from Massachusetts, whatever. However, I have heard a few people who are not Americans or Hispanics. So I've heard other languages besides Spanish or English here walking around the city, and they do sound like tourists from other places, specifically Europe or China. So I'm not sure, maybe some people are sneaking in, but I don't think that many people are. It's probably very, very few. How do you differentiate in this time? Oh, Bernard, are you asking what are you referring to? Differentiating in what respect? Deep Right, you call them bridge and tunnel crowds. Yes, bridge and tunnel folks. Hasn't been the term used in quite a while, at least with millennials and younger. But I do know what you mean, yeah. Lots of bridge and tunnel people. Ryan, from 53rd and 6th Avenue. Yes, halal, amazing halal food in the other direction we're walking. How do you differentiate the tourists? Usually it's people taking a lot of photos, and you can usually tell by how they're dressed. You know, Americans do dress pretty uniquely compared to a European or someone who's from China and Japan. Those are typically where most tourists come from. There's also Latin American tourists. So Americans tend to dress, in shorts. They use flip-flops. They might use sneakers. A lot of streetwear. Women, the same thing. Usually when I don't see that, I see someone taking a lot of photos and it doesn't look like they're an Instagrammer. That's how I differentiate. But it's not real science. It's a method of determining after years of walking around in cities. You kind of start getting a feel of who's a tourist or not. Right now I'm at 42nd Street and 6th Avenue, and we're walking towards Bryant Park. Kim, it's only 4 degrees in Australia this morning. Oscar, you enjoy my content from Panama. Oh, gracias por mi lado de Panamá. Espero ir un día a la ciudad de Panamá. Aparentemente bien bella. Thank you so much for watching from Panama. I would love to go one day. Here's 42nd Street again. We're walking in the circle. Salesforce building or tower, and good old Bryant Park. Doreen, whenever I say tourist, the caption says terrorist. Okay, that is a very bad mistake. Can someone write in the comments that I'm not saying terrorist, I'm saying tourist. All right, let's check out Bryant Park. Brian, have I ever met a famous person while doing a live video? It's happened actually here, but it happened on purpose. I covered the Red Food Film Festival. Red as in the huge nonprofit company that helps donate money to AIDS research. And I interviewed very briefly Emeril Lagasse, who's a famous chef, TV chef. And briefly, in that same day, Action Bronson, who's a rapper and famous food TV host from Vice. And he was with a puppy. So I interviewed those two guys. It was very brief. They were fun. Emeril Lagasse didn't seem to want to talk too much. Action Bronson was really high. You could tell by his bloodshot eyes. And he was also not very talkative. Aside from that, I haven't really seen any other famous people. I think there was a few times where, as I was walking, a famous person has kind of passed in front of the camera and someone has spotted them. But I haven't really talked to any famous people out of nowhere. But someday you will see, me walking around like Tom Hanks or who would I like to do a tour with? I would like to do a tour with Hugh Jackman. And I'm being 100% serious. I think Hugh Jackman, walking around with him in Sydney or Melbourne talking about coffee would just be a kick-ass live video. What time do the ice rinks start being set up? Around late November, Thanksgiving time. Let's find a seat. George, they're prefabricated buildings. I don't think there's that much waste. I would assume those pieces are dismantled and then remantled every single year. I would doubt that they are thrown away. So George is referring to the stores of the Winter Village, which is the Christmas shopping that happens here every year. Starts getting coffee with Ariel on Urbanist in their city, says William. Oh, William, you're already getting your coffee ready? I can only imagine.
Okay.
Okay, everyone, let's take a nice break. Okay, everyone, I'm gonna take a nice 3-minute break. It's a bit hard to talk with the mask. 100%. Oh, for a long time it's a bit difficult. So I'm gonna take a water break. Feel free to ask me anything. Okay, so right now we are in Bryant Park, which is one of my favorite parks in New York City, and it's still as beautiful as ever. We need to go ahead and open up the Urbanist store in this Christmas. It might be good timing because we won't have too much competition, I think. Where's the Tesla place? Right at this corner. I'll point it out. Right at this corner. The price of rent is going down on New York City. Has you noticed any lower prices in other things in the city? Only rents and housing prices have gone down. Other things, no. Maybe cocktails. So I've been to, it depends. There's some places that are offering very good price cocktails. And I think because they can't open up their bar and they have to be competitive, I think that's happening. Otherwise, not so much. So no, food is still the same price. Everything else is still the same price. Which is, I was actually thinking about that earlier. I was thinking to myself, if these places are not having any business and people are barely visiting because the prices might be a little bit too high during these economic times, I'm surprised they're still charging the same amount of money. You were filming something about Tesla. Yes, Irene, the Tesla video is already out. Go to the YouTube channel, Urbanist History of Cities. Urbanist History of Cities. And I did good. Oh, thank you so much, Doreen. About the Urbanist building. The building is all the way out in Long Island, Shoreham, Long Island. 0 to 100, how normal is New York City right now? It's not really that normal. It might look like that as I'm walking around and you might see a small spattering of people, but it's not quite normal because it's there's not that many offices open. Right now we're in front of Salesforce, so let me show you Salesforce. Right now this building is the Salesforce Tower. This is one of the largest tech companies in the world. It's not a well-known name like Facebook or Google, but they service Facebook and Google. They provide a lot of software for them. So these guys are not reopening their offices until mid-2021. So until mid-2021, Salesforce is not reopening their offices. They own a huge tower. That means they have thousands of employees. Same thing with Google. Google is not opening up offices until December 2021, and they have over 7,000 employees here in New York City. Same thing with Spotify, Facebook, and many other companies. So no, the amount of people in this immediate area is way, way emptier. There's not that many people at all. There's been a switch because in residential areas that tend to be younger, so residential areas where most people tend to be below the age of 50, have been much more vibrant. So you go to Jackson Heights, you go to Williamsburg, you go to Bushwick, you go to Greenpoint, you go to Astoria, Long Island City. Those places are now thriving. Lots of business, lots of people eating outdoors because there are a lot of residents. People may have left the city during this time. However, I would assume a large portion have indeed stayed. And that said, that's why those neighborhoods are thriving at this moment in time, because people are working from home and that's where they go to the restaurants. And a lot of people still want to take public transportation, including myself. However, the opposite is happening, because if you come here to Midtown Manhattan, there's barely people around. You do see people, but this is a fraction of what it used to be. And that's the switch over. Because these areas, specifically in the middle of the middle of the day, of the weekday, this would be filled up. There'll be a lot of lunch places, there'll be a lot of cafes open, but not the case right now. I've done my homework. You know, I learn a lot. Okay, everyone, let's continue walking. Let me know if you have any questions. We're going to go towards the ferry stop at 34th Street. Actually, before we go to the ferry stop, never mind. Oh yeah, I'll point out the Nikola Tesla location. However, there are many positive things that are happening. One of them, there's a lot more outdoor eating, which is a really welcome change. So in order not to zigzag too much, if you want to see Nikola Tesla's corner, it's right over here. Right down here in this corner. In this corner over here is Nikola Tesla's corner, where he used to feed pigeons. Find out more information on my video, Nikola Tesla's New York. Isn't Bryant Park where old New Yorkers' freshwater reservoir used to be? Yes, David, you are correct. This is where the freshwater reservoir used to be, and it used to be a tourist attraction. People used to walk around the freshwater reservoir. Do your glasses get fogged up with the mask? Yes, it does. I try to wear it right above the mask, which helps out a little bit. Someone asked, is the library open? I think it is, but I think it might be limited. I think they might not be allowing people to sit down. Most likely not. It might be open to renting books. I had heard, says Cheryl, that the metro was being cleaned a lot. Don't you take the metro because it's more dangerous, or directly because of the virus? For me personally, it's directly because of the virus. I don't feel so afraid of being robbed or mugged or pickpocketed. However, I still don't feel okay in staying in an enclosed space for more than 5 minutes. You know, I'm okay with walking inside a food place to grab food, but staying in a closed subway car for 10, 15, 30 minutes is for me, I don't feel so comfortable. Let me know what you think. Maison Crazer is closed. Maison Crazer used to sell one of the best almond croissants in all of New York City, and they might be closing for good, which is such a shame. The Phantoms have skyrocketed since everyone. Doreen, yes, they have. So much so, there was a concert where I think 3,000 people attended to see the band The Chainsmokers. It's kind of crazy. There's been a lot of parties out there. A lot of people don't wear masks in Long Island. The further out you go into Long Island, the less masks you'll see. You probably said this, but what is your absolute favorite thing and least favorite thing about being a native New Yorker? Oh, Benan, great question. Always happy to answer that question. Okay. Before I ask this question, let me point out two things. This is Library Walk. Lots of cool hotels around here. And actually, this is Library Walk. My mistake. Here, 44th Street. And here's the New York Public Library. So, favorite thing about New York City for me, right at this moment in time, is taking the ferry. It's just such a pleasure to be out on the ferry. I'm so grateful that there's a form of public transportation that is outdoors and on the water. It's just such a pleasure. Worst thing about New York City is, I would say, I still don't like how crowded it can still be in places, even without tourists. There's still areas where it just feels crowded, and I think it's more due to the urban planning. New Yorkers also have a lesser sense of space than some other cultures. So it's that combination of New Yorkers still tend to stand close to each other. And public spaces tend to be much smaller. Sidewalks tend to be much smaller compared to a city like Paris or Rome. So that's the thing I don't like about New York City so much. We're seeing a lot of news about crime rise in New York City. Have you noticed any change? Do you feel safe right now? Oscar, great question. Sandy's Chelsea Market open? No. So Oscar, this is the Croton Reservoir was here. And all the way at the bottom, you can still see the foundations of the Croton Reservoir inside the library, which I showed in videos before, so check that out. Crime. It's exaggerated in the news, in my opinion. When you see broken windows or shootouts or fireworks, yes, it's happening, but because the news keeps showing the same clips, it's not indicative of how the entire city is. So no, New York City is not like 1970s crime wave again. It's not the case. However, yes, it has risen, but it's not nowhere near the 1970s or 1980s. So do I feel safe right now? Yes, I feel safe right now, I would say. The Lions have lost their mask? Yeah, they have. George says, I never felt scared in New York City in the 1970s and 80s. I know George. And obviously I haven't had personal experience of 1970s New York. However, aside from you, George, I've heard that people did find it a lot more scarier. But I know everyone's experience is different. And sometimes, anecdotal evidence doesn't mean it was true. Here's the beautiful Chrysler building. Gwen, you did feel scared in New York City 1970s. Hey Gwen, nice to see you here. Is Chelsea Market oh yeah, I already answered that. If I miss your question, feel free to ask again. Es lugar muy lindo. Gracias por mirando, Mónica. Sí, un lugar bien bonito este parque. Es precioso, se llama Bryant Park en el medio de la ciudad. George says I should start my own coffee chain. Yes, I actually do want to do that at some point. It will be nice. I want to go the route of Hugh Jackman. Except I don't want to be an actor. I love being behind the camera for movies, so I do aim to direct more movies once it's easy to start up a independent movie production. So I aim to conquer Hollywood and start coffee. So yes, just like Hugh Jackman. George says, just don't go to the bad areas like Alphabet City in the South Bronx. Indeed, 1970s South Bronx and Alphabet City probably would not be friendly places. Yoli, I'm so happy to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, everyone, we're approaching a very special spot. I've shown it many, many times. Oscar, ¿cuál para ti el edificio más feo de Nueva York? Oscar asks, what's the ugliest building in New York? Yo creo que el edificio más feo en Nueva York es un edificio que está al lado del Brooklyn Bridge, que se llama el Verizon Building. Verizon es la telefónica de Estados Unidos. Y el edificio es bien horrible, casi no hay ventanas y no combina con el Brooklyn Bridge o el edificio que está al lado. Bien moderno y bien concreto. The ugliest building, in my opinion, is the Verizon Building right by Brooklyn Bridge. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. It is very modern, but no flavor at all. It's very concrete and kind of boring. No windows. ¿Cuál calle es ese? Estamos ahora en la 42, a frente del terminal Grand Central. We're at 42nd Street in front of Grand Central Terminal. Penn Station is ugliest, yes. I would say Penn Station is very ugly as well. Welcome everyone to Grand Central Terminal and the newest skyscraper in New York City to join the club. Tallest skyscrapers, One Vanderbilt. Pat, thank you so much for the stars. Yeah, hearts to you, Pat. On my last visit to New York City, my only thought was it seemed to become one big mall with all commercial stores. Some areas, yes. If you want to see less commercial things, I would recommend going to Williamsburg, more neighborhoods in Brooklyn, like Park Slope also. Jackson Heights, Queens is really cool. There's more stuff. Go up Upper East Side, Upper West Side. There's also much different from the mall vibe that you get in the touristy areas. Okay, everyone, who wants to venture into Grand Central Terminal? Press that heart button if you want to see the inside of Grand Central Terminal. Have we been here before? Yes, we have, Doug. I've covered that statue up there. It's called it's the statue of Cornelius Vanderbilt. Okay, everyone, we're going inside. The public has demanded, oh no, there's no more free bread. If you don't know, this was the Great Northern Deli, and it always had free bread, or samples of free bread. But you can basically steal like 20, not steal, you can take about 30 samples of free bread, and you just have basically a loaf. The dining course is now open. So I don't mind going to this station because it's very wide open. So I have no qualms coming in here. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grand Central Terminal. Cue the music. What song am I mumbling? Let me know in the comments. It is very empty. You bought your first black and white cookie in Grand Central? Yes, Kay. Was it due to my recommendation? I think it just might be. What song was I mumbling? Someone has to know. Irene says, keep my day job. Irene, you don't like my mumble? You know, people have told me I'm an excellent mumble orchestral player. Yeah. Yes, Doug, you are correct. It's Jurassic Park. Every time I come into like an epic place, I think about Jurassic Park, you know, because of that scene where Alan Grant kneels down and takes off his sunglasses. And he's like, oh my God. Wow. All right. Yeah, I'll talk about the clock. Okay, everyone. What is the most expensive object here in Grand Central Terminal? Let me know. Most expensive object in Grand Central Terminal. Is it the chandeliers? Is it the ceiling mural? Is it the American flag? Is it this man's bike? What is the most expensive